Hey, yo, 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 what's up? It's your boy Rep here. Listen, we are here with Truth Seekers, and we are doing a Truth Bomb segment. Yo, we've been doing some cool stuff, and we hope that you enjoy what we're talking about and just enjoy listening to Soul and I kind of just going back and forth on different topics, different things about music, and we're also going to be looking into Genesis more because that's it's one of my favorite books of the Bible. But it's also like I think it's awesome just to go back to Genesis and look at the very beginning and how God has created us, and it's kind of cool. But anyway, we did not have a regular podcast this week because of some scheduling and some other things that come up in personal life. But I wanted to drop a truth bomb because a topic has come up over the past couple of weeks that I really wanted to talk about. And so I know that for many of us who have grown up in the Christian music scene or grown up in any sort of religious segment have followed the group DC Talk and know about all of its members, including Michael Tait, who has had a great career as a music artist, not just a Christian music artist, but a music artist in general. And he has been with DC Talk. He has done some solo stuff. He has been with the Newsboys and recently kind of stepped back from that. And there's been a lot of speculation as to why he stepped away from the Newsboys, a lot of speculation about some things that were coming up in his life previous to that stepping away. And recently, some news reports came out. Some people stepped forward and highlighted that there was some drug abuse in his past life as far as while he was doing music ministry, while he was on the road, and then also some sexual abuse that was witnessed and that had come to light. And so a lot of rumors were going along, and then finally Michael Tait addressed this in a recent Instagram post. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. I want to share with you the Instagram post. I'm going to read directly from the post that he shared on Instagram, and just listen to this one. So it's titled My Confession, Michael Tait, June 10th, 2025. It says recent reports of my reckless and destructive behavior, including drug and alcohol abuse and sexual activity, are sadly and largely true. For some 2 decades, I used and abused cocaine, consumed far too much alcohol, and at times touched men in an unwanted sexual or sensual way. I am ashamed of my life choices and actions and make no excuse for them. I simply call it what God calls it, sin. I don't blame anyone or anything but myself. While I might dispute certain details and the accusations against me, I do not dispute the substance of them. When I abruptly left Newsboys in January, I did so to get help. I was not healthy physically or spiritually and was tired of leading a double life. I spent 6 weeks at a treatment center in Utah, receiving help that may have saved my life from ultimate destruction. I've been clean and sober since, though I still have lots of hard work ahead of me. I'm ashamed to admit that for years I lied and deceived my family, friends, fans, and even misled my bandmates about aspects of my life. I was, for the most part, living two distinctly different lives. I was not the same person on stage Sunday night that was at home on Monday. I was violating everything I was raised to believe by God-fearing dad and mom about walking with Jesus, and was grieving the very God I loved and sang about for most of my life. By his grace, I can say that for the past 6 months, I have lived a singular life, one of utter brokenness and total dependence on a loving and merciful God. I have hurt so many people in so many ways, and I will live with that shameful reality the rest of my life. I can only dream and pray for human forgiveness because I certainly don't deserve it. I have even accepted that though God may be the only one who ultimately and completely forgives me, still I want to say I'm sorry to everyone I have hurt. I'm truly sorry. It is my hope and prayer that all those I have hurt will receive healing, mercy, and hope from a merciful healer and hope giver. Even before this recent news became public, I had started on a path to health, healing, and wholeness thanks to a small circle of clinical health professionals, loving family, caring friends, and wise counselors, all of whom saw my brokenness and surrounded me with love, grace, and prayer. Sin is a terrible thing, taking us where we don't want to go, keeping us longer than we want to stay, and costing us more than we want to pay. I accept the consequences of my sin and am committed to continuing the hard work of repentance and healing work while I do quietly and privately away from the stage and spotlight. To the extent my sinful behavior has caused anyone to lose respect or faith or trust in me, I understand, deserve, and accept that. But it crushes me to think that someone would lose or choose not to pursue faith and trust in Jesus because I have been a horrible representative of him. For he alone is ultimately the only hope for any of us. King David's prayer of repentance in Psalm 51 has been my prayer this year. Have mercy upon me, O God, according to your loving kindness. Blot out my transgressions. Wash me thoroughly from my iniquity and cleanse me from my sin. For I acknowledge my transgressions, and my sin is always before me. Create in me a new heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me. All right, so that is Michael Taits' confession posted by him on his personal Instagram. You can definitely check that out. So let's talk about this, right? So this is not like the first. Of course, there's been plenty of Christian, religious, spiritual celebrities, pastors, church leaders, youth leaders, musicians, artists, etc., who have fallen into some sort of failure or sin, right? And that have lived or confessed living a double life. There's been several this year. Some big names as far as like, before we talked about like Ravi Zacharias, who after his passing came to light some things that were in his life and in his past. We've seen even in the Christian hip hop scene, several artists that have had some adulterous relationships and cheating and sinful failures, etc. It's you can look up plenty of names, right? It's all there. And so this recent one is not something out of the ordinary, something new. So what what are we talking about here when it comes to why there's so much failure within the church? Well, okay, first of all, to anyone out there listening, remember that none of the people that you have heard fall or fail or go through any of this are perfect, right? Just because they are saved, just because they're Christians, just because they have followed God, just because they've professed God, does not mean that they're perfect, does not mean that they are not going to struggle with sin. Your pastor on Sunday struggles with the same sin that you struggle with, that anyone else in the church struggles with. The Christian artists that you follow so frequently and heavily, and listen to all their music and stuff like that, still have the same temptations that you do. So let's not pretend that there's some sort of like barrier between, and just because God has called them to get on stage and lead and preach, that they're not going to fall into the same temptations. Now, what it does require is the fact that God does say, like, hey, if you are in a leading sense, right? If you are a pastor, a teacher, if you're a church leader, if you are on a stage, and Sol and I talked about this a while ago. If you're on a stage and have that presence and have that calling, then you are held to a higher standard because you are a representative, right? So this confession of Michael Taits was definitely needed. It needs to be a public confession because you are a public figure, right? You are a public representation of the gospel of Jesus Christ, of of anything that relates to your music ministry. So yes, there has to be a public confession, and this was definitely needed. It was definitely supposed to happen, whether it came to light or not. All right, whether it came to light or not, it needed to happen. So that's the first thing that we got to draw out of it. The second thing is this. Okay, I got to say this. Music artists, right? Music artists. Of which I consider myself a small part of, because I'm not like, a big celebrity or anything like that, or have any sort of like major following. I'm okay with that, right? But any music artist, any celebrity, any Christian leader, remember to play the background. I keep going back to like when Annie Mineo and Lecrae had that song of like play the background. It talks about like, hey, I just want to stay in the background, let Christ be the center, let Christ be the focus. It's that Paul aspect of like follow me as I follow Christ. Don't follow me, right? We're not looking for followers of Paul. We're not looking for followers of this person, this person, this person. We're looking for followers of Christ, right? So that should be the goal. A lot of times, I feel like it's very easy for Christian leaders, right? And leaders, I'm lumping into artists, I'm lumping into actors, entertainment, I'm looking into like church leadership, all of that. It's very easy for Christian leaders to amass a following. And anytime that you have a following, you are an influencer, right? That is what we have gotten our culture into. Like we have a culture full of influencers, right? So whenever you amass a following, you have influence. And whenever you have influence, it's so hard for us to stay out of the spotlight and focus on Christ a lot of times, and even have like our music and stuff focus on Christ. And not all of that is our fault, right? It's gonna happen, and I have to drop it to those who are just like lay people, right? Man, stop making Christian celebrities. Stop making Christian celebrities, because we are making Christian celebrities. We are taking these people who are having a calling of leading people to Christ through either entertainment or the church or whatever it may be, and we're making idols of them. We're making gods of them. We're celebrating them, right? Which is why we're so easy to say like, oh, Kanye is like professing God, like he's on our side, woohoo, yay, let's go, let's like lift him up as like now our one of our poster childs for like the gospel music and all that stuff like that. Like, no, right? And we see how that's kind of worked out, right? That's why so many people are like, man, I wish Eminem would come to know God so he could be like on the Christian side of things. Like, what? Do you really care about Eminem coming to know Christ for his relationship with Christ and for his eternal security, or because you want him to be kind of like, yo, now we got Eminem on our side type thing? There's no, stop this, right? We don't need Christian celebrities. We need Christian leaders and followers that we can follow as they follow Christ, right? So we got to get this mind out of like, hey, Christian celebrity, because then when your celebrity does mess up or fall or have like a struggle or anything like that, you get all butthurt because, oh man, like this is the person I put up on the pedestal. Get rid of the pedestal, get rid of the idol, get rid of the God, and focus on the one true God. And you'll have a lot clearer perspective when it comes to that. But artists, if you find yourself struggling with who's in focus, right? Is it you or is it Christ? Is it you or is it the gospel? Is it your ministry or is it God's gospel? Like, then you need to take that step back. All right, so first thing, right? Second thing, I saw a lot of comments, right? A lot of comments of like, hey, this is great. At least he like confessed it. At least he like put it out there. He called it what it was. He called it a sin, this, that. Saw a lot of people who were comments like, yo, why are we excusing what he did and kind of like happy that he at least confessed his sin and all this stuff and this stuff. So many comments out there. People quit commenting, like focus on your own life. But first, here's what I want to say, right? A lot of times we confuse forgiveness and consequences, right? We confuse forgiveness and consequences. Like, why are we so quick to forgive him for what he did? Because that's what God called us to do. We're supposed to forgive, right? 70 times 7, right? There's no like barrier or no like strategy of like, hey, this is like what you're supposed to forgive. And if he does it this specific way, then this is how like you're supposed to forgive, what time period you're supposed to forgive, how long he has to suffer before we forgive him. Forgiveness does not have that limitation, right? There's no limitations on this. Forgiveness is unconditional. We're supposed to forgive, okay? Consequences, totally different. Regardless of the consequences, there should be forgiveness, right? There's going to be consequences. Obviously, there's going to be consequences, whether it be legal, like relational, spiritual, mentally, emotionally, all that. There's going to be consequences. We're not saying that. There should be consequences, but there also should be forgiveness. Forgiveness is not like a part of that, like, hey, so forgiveness has to be there. Secondly, you should not rejoice in the consequences. Like our whole thing is not to be like, oh, he sinned and therefore we're rejoicing that he's suffering. We're not. No, we don't rejoice in the consequences. We rejoice in the confession and the reconciliation. Okay. And a lot of people out there are like, hey, he hasn't suffered enough. He hasn't had these consequences enough. Oh, yeah, we're excited that he is gonna, like, going through all this, getting all this backlash and everything like that. No, if you're rejoicing in the consequences that he has to go through, or that any person has to go through because of sin or a fall or anything like that, then there's something that you need to work with in your own life. Don't rejoice in the consequences. We should seek forgiveness. That should be our goal. We want to see reconciliation. We want to see forgiveness happen for this person. And no matter what it is, we should seek forgiveness. If Jesus acted the way we acted when it comes to people falling, bro, none of us would be having any hope at all. Okay? He did not like have, oh, well, this person is a sexual abuser. This person is a thief. This person is a liar. This person. So there's got to be a whole like ranking system of how I forgive them. He forgave. He forgave all, no matter what. From then to now to forever, that forgiveness is there. He did not just die for your past sins, for this type of sin. And his death did not just cover like a specific sin or a specific sin for a specific time period. It covered all. It was like it covered everything. And so for us to put a limitation on our forgiveness, and for us to extend rejoicing for consequences, there's something that we need to talk about, and there's something that you need to like figure out for yourself as far as where your heart is. Lastly, and I haven't checked to see if this is true. I heard that, K-Love or one of the radio stations was removing all of the music of like Newsboys and DC Talk because of this whole issue. Bro, why? Right? If this is true, I'm not sure if it is true, but if it's true, why? Right? The music and the message that was given in those songs and for those time periods still have the ability to impact lives, right? Just because of think about anything in the Bible, right? For in that case, like, yo, David, he's X'd out. Moses, he's X'd out. Jonah definitely should have been X'd out. Who else? Paul, right? Why would we be listening or reading any letters from Paul when he was the one who murdered Christians? Like we can't say like, hey, God's message in whatever medium it was used is now null and void because of the sin or the failure or the falling of the messenger. The only one we need to focus on again is Christ in this situation, and Christ can still use those who have fallen, can still use those who have sinned, can still use those who have had failures. God is not so weak that someone's sin and failure can thwart his plan. And for us to like live in that, right? And speak that and let that kind of like rule our how things. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, that music still has a huge impact on people. It still can have a huge impact on people. That person can still have a huge impact on people. And it's all in how we have truly perceived forgiveness versus consequences. Anywho, I know I could talk a little bit on this, and I'm sure that there can be a lot of comments and such on this topic as things going on. And there's going to be more people that fall. I mean, honestly, there's no perfection. Until we get to heaven, there are going to be people that struggle. There are going to be people in the spotlight, on the stage, that we know of, that we have lifted up on this pedestal, that are going to fall. Pray for them. Pray for each other. Pray that the gospel is the thing that is focused on. And pray that there's a protection over the people that are leading in our churches, in our music, in our movies, in any leadership position whatsoever. That's where our hearts need to be. Anyway, love to hear your thoughts on this. This is what I got for you. Thanks for joining on Truth Seekers. Definitely check us out on YouTube. Check us out on Spotify. And we'll see you later next time on Truth Seekers. Hope you guys have a good week.